you basically bring 1 ton a month
Yes.
to the plates of people in the United States, right? By yourself for fine meat.
I'm probably doing about 20 tons a month.
20 tons?
20 tons a month.
Oh, wow. You made it to a point that you have a nice, big, multi-million-dollar business. What made you different than everyone else?
And I knew I wanted to be a businessman. I knew I wanted to be so. It was never a question of if. I don't believe in Sundays. I think every day's a work day for me. I've had people that would criticize me about my work ethic.
What's the first version of your business look like?
The first 6 months, almost a struggle to the point of almost losing everything. It was very tough. We lost the house. Anything can go wrong went wrong.
And
Wow.
what about all the hormone-infused cows that you see? Like, how does that play into this whole market?
So the whole thing is that you have these chefs, Ramsay and Gordon. There's a couple of meat guys that have channels. So they could talk everything they want, but at the end of the day, can they tell you, what are you eating? Is it hormone-free, antibiotic-free? How is it treated? Where does it come from? I could tell you that story. The difference between me and most of the guys who do training on the beef side is that they don't study what they're selling.
So, Rafael, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Rafael is a good friend. We know each other for about 2 years.
Players now.
Couple years. We used to be neighbors in the same building, and who would have known that you actually you are a part of kind of like changing the culinary part in the United States meat-wise, in a high-quality meat. And anyone that follows you on Instagram would see what you do. But figure, I'm a carnivore, and Scott over here is a big carnivore.
Very much a carnivore.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We go to Papi Steak, we go to fancy restaurants, and we always go for steaks. And you basically bring 1 ton a month to the plates of people in the United States, right? By yourself for fine meat.
Maybe about, what is it? So 1 ton's about 2,000 pounds. I'm probably doing about 20,000, 40,000, about 20 tons a month.
20 tons?
20 tons a month right now.
20 tons a month?
20 tons a month.
Oh, wow.
That's just on an actual ribeyes and strip loins. Now we also sell this stuff for the cattle. So we're doing about 1 million pounds a month.
Oh, wow.
On other items as well. So that's about 200 tons monthly.
So you, when I say you're doing fine meat, you're not doing regular meat you're going to find in supermarket. You really go and hand select the breeders, and you bring them from Japan, from Australia, from the United States. You're going to tell us the story about Wagyu, Angus, types of Wagyus. You're going to educate us. Tell us about the industry.
We're going to try. That's what we're trying to do.
Tell us about yourself first. Tell us your story, because you have a very humble beginning.
I'm from a Mexican background, as you could tell. I don't have the blue eyes. Actually, my parents were migrant workers back in the day, picking cucumbers, tomatoes. So, till I was 14, 15 years old, living in Delray Beach, Lake Worth, those areas were, people who know of those areas, that were nothing out there. They were just fields, and we lived out there. So it was very, very, very different growing up for me as a Mexican American. I was first generation Mexican American, so I grew up in a Mexican household, and then started going to school. I went to kindergarten, middle school. Everything was in the U.S. Even though summertime, my parents migrated back to Mexico. So summer came in, there was no more crops, no more fields. We went back to Mexico, and then we came back October, November for school again. Mm-hmm. So it was fun. It was night and day today, but it was fun.
So you're working the fields, and you eventually start going into the culinary world, but you started selling food, right? You're working for a butcher shop or something.
Actually, I used to work for a little convenience store right in Delray Beach. It's still there, actually. Shout outs to Ali, the owner of the store there. And it's called Peanuts Country Store. So what they did in this little store, and I got the job because of my dad. So right in the 441 in Delray Beach, little corner store, this guy used to cash the checks to all those immigrant workers. So there were 1,000 immigrant workers coming in every Friday and Saturday to cash checks and eat. So I worked in the kitchen and, cooking rice and chicken back in the day. And It was fun. It was fun. That's what I did for the first from 14 to about 18 years, 4 years in that place.
Nice.
Yeah.
From the age of 14 to 18.
Yeah. I remember that. I used to stock the cooler back in the day, and then climb myself up to the charging people on the.
That was a promotion.
That was a promotion. I was graduating, and I got 25 cents more now.
We're going to go into your life story, but if you had to kind of like explain to me, like, what do you see yourself? How do you see yourself different? You made it to a point that you have a nice, big, multi-million-dollar business, very fancy lifestyle, actually, when you see where you work, your office space. But you came from a point where, people would go and say that it's just very hard. It's a magic cycle to be in that area, in that place. What made you different than everyone else that here you are and many of them haven't made it? Like, what do you think is the catalyst?
I like that question, because I really have no answer. My answer is just structure. I think that there was never a doubt in my mind that where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. Since I was 17. So, going back to I was 17, I started attending college. I graduated high school at 17, Boca Raton High School. And I knew I wanted to be a businessman. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did when I was attending Palm Beach Community College and FAU at the same time, I went to a job fair. I wanted to look for a job. And I no longer wanted to go back to the fields working in that store. I knew I wanted to be someone. It was never a question of if. I wanted to be someone. So I went out there. I went to the job fair a couple of times, and I couldn't find a job. But at first, I did banking. I worked for Barnett Bank for about 3 days, and then they told me I had to wear a tie every day. I said I quit. So imagine the Mexican kid. Never wore. I didn't know what tie was back in the day. My mom had to. There was no Google. Google, how do you Google doing a tie? We had to call someone. I went to church to help me wrap a tie around my neck, and I said I can't do this. Long story short, the job fair came about again, and there was a company in Boca Raton called Future Foods. It's no longer there, but Stephen Hockman was the name. Shout out to him, I guess. And I walk in that little place, and first of all, it was like a movie to me. My first interview was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I walk in, and I'm trying to be, as polite as I can. And I said, okay, so I'm here for an interview. I walk in and people are screaming and yelling like it's like the Wolf of Wall Street. Just imagine that. And this is me, and everybody there's American, and they're screaming, and I hear, can you cuss here?
You can do whatever you want.
You can cuss much as you want.
Hell yeah.
I hear a guy in the corner saying, "You motherfucker," and then someone else saying, "You piece of shit." And I said, I looked at everybody on the phone, and there was like 15 people on the phone, and I said, "This is where I belong." Automatically.
Yeah. No need for a tie, right?
No need for a tie. And I walk in there, and Stephen Hockman, he's on the phone, and he tells me, "Hey, grab the line," signaling to me, "Grab the line." And phone's ringing.
This is before the job interview?
This is before the job interview. And he's on the phone, and he says, "Grab the line," and he's signaling to this phone, "Grab it," and he's looking at me like I'm a piece of shit. Grab the fucking line. So I grab the line, I pick up the phone, and his name is Victor Silva. He used to be governor in Chihuahua, Mexico. He's still my customer. He's still my friend. This was 25 years ago.
Wow.
And it's my first phone call. And he spoke Spanish. So to me, that's where it all started. And
it's amazing.
What
was the company? What did they do?
He
yelling at people, at customers.
Well, it's a brokering company. So just as
a brokerage company. Yeah. Stocks. Okay.
No, beef.
Oh, really?
Commodities.
So it's commodity. Okay.
Jews, chicken, pork, beef, anything to do with.
Interesting.
Yeah, this was my first job, and nobody really looked at it because you don't see those a lot anymore. He was out there making pennies on every transaction.
Yes,
and we were brokers. Yeah. We were the shit of the piles. They don't exist anymore, but we were.
That's so fascinating. Can you explain to me, like somebody who knows nothing about the behind the scenes, and maybe Joseph, because you've spoken to him before, but like, I don't think the average person knows that a beef brokerage exists.
By the way,
yeah.
Just which one? Just the tequila or the whiskey?
Oh, tequila every time.
All right.
Yeah. You don't ask that question to my face. Look at me.
I was testing.
Do I look Irish?
That was
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I do whiskey sometimes.
I confused you for Irish at first. The blue eyes.
No. So so what purpose did that even serve? So I'm thinking like, a trading floor.
Yeah. It's a little small trading floor. Don't. It's not Wall Street.
No, I get it. But everyone's trying to buy, sell.
Yeah. So they're out in the market, and companies like Tyson Foods, JBS, hire people like them to sell the stuff they're not selling.
And you have Tyson on one line. You have a restaurant on the other. Is that
no? Restaurants are
farther down the food chain.
Okay. Yeah, this is strictly from everything Whole Foods section all the way down to you might have Publix at the other front.
Gotcha. Okay.
Even back in the day, it's no longer a thing because now FSIS decided that if it doesn't come from a wholesaler that's certified like we are.
What is FSIS?
So FSIS is the organization that makes the guidelines for all documents, entries, U.S. and part of the USDA, part of everything that happens.
Food.
Yeah.
What's the acronym?
FSIS.
What does that stand for? Food safety?
Safety and something. I don't even know that acronym.
Food safety institution.
Food safety and inspection service.
There you go.
FSIS. Yeah.
So back in the day, FSIS existed, but it wasn't relevant to brokers. It wasn't. It just wasn't a thing. Just like brokers with money back in the day. It was, people on the street could broker.
Yeah.
No longer that.
But now you're getting acclimated to the whole beef industry and behind the scenes of it.
Exactly.
And then, so how does and actually, there's one point that I think we touched on it. We were talking downstairs, but you didn't touch on it when Joseph was going through your origin story. Speak about like some of I think you actually know it, but you gloss over it, like that hard work that you put in and that your parents put in, and maybe that part of the origin story, because I think that's actually there's like an advantage of coming from
a different
background. Yeah. I mean, like even like working on farms, like picking cucumbers. That's not.
There's stories I can tell you that I have daughters today that you do something similar to that, and it's your child abuse. What does that mean? I mean, it doesn't make it sound bad, but my first time that I drove was from Florida all the way down to North Carolina. I was 12 years old. And I drove my dad. There was not an option, and it was not a thing. So we're here. My dad says, "Hey, there's watermelons in North Carolina." I remember this. I was 12 years old, and they're asking us, instead of going to the summer to Mexico, we're going to go up and work. And he wasn't asking me. He was telling my mom and a couple of people. So what they want up there is someone with a truck to go pick cucumbers and tomatoes. So my dad said, "Okay. We're going to head out there." The whole family got in this truck, a little truck to pick cucumbers and tomatoes. And then we had a van. And he said, "I need you to take that van back with me." So I drove for 14, 15 hours straight. And, without sleeping, I remember that. We left around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, got there about 9 o'clock in the morning. And it was from there on, I think there was no fear of anything else.
I think what it is that's work ethic. There are a lot of people that go through this, but very few come through the other side. I don't think necessarily experience is what's going to make you who you are as much as the way you're just wired. Like if you ask someone like LeBron James, what made you an NBA player? Well, I was lucky enough to be born with certain physique and height. And then lots of training on top of that.
Then I trained every
single day, like everybody else that are doing that. But then I happen to be just better because of different ways I was born, right? And I think just people are born different. And that's why you can pluck a person out of 100 people, and not everyone's going to make it. Just not everyone's going to be good enough in that field. And that's why I feel like that's the reason. Like you had some outcome, but yeah.
Yeah, there's like an advantage to being put through an exceptional amount of hardship at a certain age, especially a young age. It sort of primes you for the rest of your life. So all those lessons they compile, and I can guarantee you that somebody else that followed the exact same career path without the work ethic, without the driving 12 hours to get watermelons, they wouldn't have ended up where you are.
I think that's true.
I think it's just the way you're wired. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg had to work as hard, and look at him now. So I think it's just the way people are wired, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
I could see that too. So, today if you ask me, you drive the fancy car, you buy the fancy watches. I always did.
Mm-hmm.
I just could afford better stuff now. So I always wanted something better. I always wanted to, buy the bigger house, not because I wanted to show off, because it meant something to me as coming from a humble beginning, not having nothing, that eventually when you bought your first car, it was a miracle. So from there, it just became, okay, I want the business. I started my business 12 years ago, back in 2011, after I worked for several companies. And I've noticed that my work ethic, I made many friends and many enemies along the way. Because I was always very structured towards, I don't believe in Sundays. I think every day is a work day for me. And people saw that. I've had people that would criticize me about my work ethic, about, just having to be wherever I need to be and just
working on Sunday.
Working whenever, I guess.
It's just a day to me. And it still is today, So my people at my office see me too. And I'm there every day. And if I'm not there, I'm at a Mexico office. I have an office in Mexico.
Joseph, were you like that when you started your companies?
So my best days, everyone that worked for BoxyCharm would tell you, Monday was the favorite day, because
You actually lived that to yourself as a founder? You were like on the weekends and stuff?
Monday, finally. I just couldn't stand. Look, when you look at companies that the founders, they have their if you look at certain companies, I think I saw Patrick Bet-David coming out of a restaurant, and he's saying, look, I'm in this very fancy restaurant. They have multiple locations, and the owner of the restaurant is here saying hi to everybody. But guys, this is Sunday. I think it was on Christmas. And it's like, he doesn't care about the holiday. He doesn't care about Christmas or Sunday. He's here at the floor. He doesn't have to work anymore, but he does that, right? This is our hobby. This is our video games. This is our livelihood. Yeah. When you go home, you don't know what to do with yourself when you need to. Yeah. So absolutely.
What's the first version of your business look like? So like the I guess that last company you left, and then you went out on your own. So talk to me about the transition. And was it all in day one? Did you quit, had 12 months of money in the bank to cover your expenses until you made something work? Or was it more subtle, gradual than that?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that a long time ago. I moved a couple of places. I lived in Texas, for a couple of years, then moved to New York. Always looking at it better, try to better myself in anything I do. And then I think back in 2011, when I left a company called Vista Food, and I was your international rep for them, for Mexico, Central, South America. And I think that I brought more to the table than what they wanted to do. So I said, I'm going to do this. I sat down and I grabbed my wife and I said, we're going to do this. And you're going to be with me. Boy, it was a struggle. I had $20,000 in the bank. And, I knew that hard challenges were coming. And we sold the house. We had a little collateral in there. We had about $200,000-$300,000. I put it into the business. And we started with a $20,000 loan, again, from the bank. We went out there and I said, hey, I'm building a business. I know everything about beef. I know everything what to do. And I have the customers. And here's my business plan. I went out there foolishly. I have my business plan to get to work. And says, yeah, we'll give you a loan. Let me see your credit. How's your credit? Good. Okay. We're going to give you $20,000. It's not even a box of a ribeye. But that's how it started. And I think that, that 20,000, the first 6 months was almost a struggle to the point of almost losing everything. It was very tough. I remember this. We're in Texas, Dallas, Texas, and Christmas came about. I started my company in June, and Christmas came about. And it was the worst Christmas ever. We lost the house. We sold first house, and we had another one. We lost the house. We wind up renting in a little place for about $1,100.
What year was it?
It was 2011.
11, okay.
Yeah, right after the whole 2009 crash. Well, what happened was that Vista Food decided that if I didn't move to New York with them, because they were closing offices, I was supposed to move. They were going to close my office and fire all the people. So I went to New York and I checked it out, and I said, I'm not moving back here again. So you know what? I'm going to start on my own. So that's how it came about. So, but that first year was a struggle. Anything can go wrong went wrong, including business, including my relationship with my wife. I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong, but it was tough because now it wasn't only me. I had 2 daughters at the time. I had a wife, and
you have dependents now.
I had dependents, and I had 2 people working for me that I brought with me with $20,000.
Yeah, it's not a lot
and
of paychecks.
I'm the believer of. I am that guy, and I've always been. And I can't ever change that. That there was no money in the bank, and I'd rather pay my employees because I promised them a job. So my wife and I were having a fit between you're going to feed them before you feed your daughters. And it was really a struggle.
Wow.
So we went through that. And then for some reason, we, after pushing and handling, making a couple sales, a couple friends coming in and buying some stuff from me, things just kind of panned out. And then, 2000, go a little forward, 2013, we started getting better. We started getting better, and it was a struggle. Now I'm reminiscing. Now I'm thinking of those times when it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Yeah.
But you held out so it was like 3 years, 3 years till it started to get comfortable.
Yeah, it was about 3 years actually
before
it started to become a business, because it was just survival mode at that time. I remember that, and I was catching a plane everywhere I could to go and convince someone to buy meat from me. And it was catching a plane to every supplier out there, asking them, "Can you trust me with credit?" That was that's the worst part of it all. It's very hard to survive with no credit in this industry, any industry, I guess.
Yeah.
So
you sell with credit, and you have to buy with credit.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you can't make it.
You just couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So it was a hard struggle in those 3 years. I think that. It was 2015 when I met Creekstone Farms company now that I represent. And it was from there on forward, I kind of got attached to them. And as of today, this is 6 years forward. I am now one of their exclusive distributors.
So that's the location you mentioned before in the United States that sell ribeye. Or any kind of Angus that is not Wagyu, but it's a consistent quality that's always going to be the same.
Correct.
Yes. And let's talk a little bit about that. Explain to us the challenge pre-Wagyu in the United States. What was the challenge with quality of meat?
Can you explain that too, what pre-Wagyu means? Because I don't even understand the history.
So Wagyu is a type of breed from the cow that's, when you put it on a plate, it's fattier. So if you go to Papi Steak and all those places, they'll usually have Wagyu, and it's a very delicious meat. It always tastes the same. It's amazing, and you have different types. I think you can explain a little bit better, but roughly, I hope I'm doing a good job. And then before that, so you have choice, prime, and then you have Wagyu. But within prime, you have levels, and you're more into this than I am. You're good.
No, he's on the right path. So actually 2014, 15, I've been selling beef for a long time, and I decided that I wanted to, I saw the paychecks. I saw that selling chicken was not bringing in good paychecks. So I said, you know what, I'm going to dedicate myself to sell beef. And I got attached to this company. But yet, so Wagyu is actually a breed of animal that came from Japan. And now Japan has slowly transitioned into Australia, into US, even though it's not the same consistency because it's a Japan-based animal, called Kobe out of the region area. It's just consistently marbled meat throughout many years. It's just the way it's being fed, the way it's being treated. And it created that inner marbling, which is almost a 25 to 28% score of fat inside the beef, which is, you never see juicy. Much more juicy. The more fat inside.
Compared to, what is a score for?
Compared to a prime, which is about 8% to 12%.
Okay.
And then you have choice, which is, 4 to 3%. So the more marbling score, the more fat inside the meat, the better taste it is. That's just another way around it, and softer. Mm-hmm. So, in 2014, 15, Mexico was never a big buyer of higher end meats. It was always a buyer of price. So I started noticing that some of the gastronomical changes were happening out there. And, selling beef into these small places, back in the day, used to sell inside skirts, outside skirts, big sellers for Latin and Central America. And getting a ribeye to Mexico was almost impossible. First of all, you went from $7 a pound for an outside skirt, inside skirt, to $15, $10 a pound. To them, it was not possible. But then there's a couple of big people that came into Mexico. Actually, I gotta give it to Wolfgang Puck and some of the stuff he did. And he started bringing in American style meat, which was 1.5 inch meat coming into Mexico, right in the center. And that was people in Mexico think that was raw and it's not good. And so we would have to educate. Yeah, that's what it was, 10, 15 years ago.
Even for it's not anything compared to the general population, but even hospitality was not.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a big thing. It was just the culture. Mm-hmm. It wasn't part of the culture, So as people started getting educated more and looking more into the American way, we started slowly noticing that it was better for you. It was tastier. So I wanted to make a change. And I said, you know what? I need to, if I'm going to do this beef, just like everything else structure, I want to make sure I sell the best beef. I know, I think Joseph and I had a conversation right now about the prime. And a lot of the people in the U.S. know that prime is one of the biggest grades of the grades in the U.S. And it's bought by the inner marbling of a cattle inside. But a lot of people don't know is that what happens with how do you create that marbling score? How does that animal get to be fatter? How does it get to be to that 25% of a Kobe beef or Wagyu? How do we do that? So they started noticing certain breeds create more marbling. And 2004 and 5, a company called Creekstone out of Oklahoma started noticing that Black Angus Great cattle started creating more marbling inside. I'm talking about other plants around the U.S. Prime was about 7 to 10%. So just imagine there's about 10,000 cattle inside that pen. Mm-hmm. Inside that pen, only about 7 to 10% of them were prime. The other ones were just the regular choice. But when you came down to the plant like Creekstone and people started noticing, and actually big players, Creekstone was creating inside those pens of 10,000 cattle, between 25 to 30% of them were prime. Mm-hmm. So how is that possible? So they started, making structure, and they started going to these ranches where people have been growing animals for more than 100 years. And it's been 100% Black Angus cattle, genetically correct. And they started noticing this, and it just became a big thing now.
So now
it's a lot of information. I know
we're talking about that. So going back to exactly what you're saying right now. When I moved to the US, I was going to restaurants, and I remember I was sticking to the appetizers because I was always disappointed. Now, once in a blue moon, I'll enjoy the steak, but you'll get a good steak and then you'll get a bad one. There was no consistency. It was going on for a while, and I remember until Nazareth came in town and started serving Wagyu, and then Papi Steak came in town, and every steak is a home run. And now it kind of like you explained to me, well, there was no consistency in prime because it was just different breeds, different everything. So every time you would get prime, it would just be a different breed of cow. But then in your case, it can be prime or Wagyu, but the consistency will always be the same with high marbleization, right? That's the idea. Correct. It would always be the same because you stick to the same breed, you stick to the same method of growing, and you just don't go and just buy whatever is available. Correct. And that's where the difference comes from, right? It's just because now I don't go everywhere. I don't buy meat. I don't take a steak anywhere I go. I know the places to take because I know I'm not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, actually, I've never even thought about it consciously, but for years now, I've stopped buying steak at restaurants just because it's all over the map.
It was a hit and miss.
It was a total hit and and it doesn't matter the restaurant. It could be the most expensive, best steakhouse.
Exactly.
And it was garbage. And you're sitting there thinking like, am I an idiot for not understanding why I'm not enjoying this? Whatever.
Right. Yeah. I went to SW in Vegas at the Wynns. hotel. So I went there one time, and I remember that I had the best steak I had in my life. It was ribeye, and it was the best. And I spoke to, so when I met my wife, today my ex, but I spoke to her for 5 years. I told her about that place. I'm like,
you keep remembering that steak.
Oh, that steak. And
it was probably my steak, you know?
Well, that was so many years ago. At that time, you might have been in the fields. I'm old enough to be your father. So then we go there, and then after a couple of years, we finally go there. We're ordering that steak. And she's like, okay, what's so special about that one? I'm like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. It's not the same. And it's one of the best restaurants. So that was before Wagyu was introduced to the US. That was just before all that stories. Like, I just happened to be lucky that day.
Well, that's the thing. Before it was known, you'll have some of these animals that weren't categorized, but they're just part of this.
It was a mix. So we go on about this, and I could blow your mind with things sometimes.
Blow our minds.
Change my life right now.
Let's go,
Rafael. I don't want to be the same living this.
I speak to a lot of people and chefs and Rafael. Sometimes I need a pause button because I can go on about it, and to me it's just a normal day. And but I mean, you'd be amazed of the stuff that's back in the day, 100 years ago. USDA and people decided that they wanted to feed America and the world. So they had to go out there and make sure that we had enough protein to make sure everybody had something on their table. But maybe along the way we forgot a couple of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then all we wanted was to make sure that, Joseph and had something on the table to eat, but it was never about quality and consistency. It was always about having the product. And maybe 19 years ago, we started ringing some bells and said, wait a minute, this could be better. So there's a couple companies that went outside of that realm and decided they wanted to do something better. And they wanted consistency because at the end of the day, like you said, it's the experience.
Yeah.
So I speak to these companies and I go out there and speak to, Ritz-Carlton's, Four Seasons, and I speak to the directors. And yes, we can discuss it by price. And now my model to them is if you want to discuss price, you and I are not in the same room here. If you want to discuss consistency, because at the end of the day, I think that's what you want. You want to make sure that Joseph has the same experience he did 15 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the worst part is when you speak to these people, at the end of the day, they always wind up saying, well, okay, the price is good, but is it going to be consistent? So that's for the thing. So
I feel like the only consistency I was getting was ground meat. Because that's easier to manipulate and make it right. So if you take burgers or that, you never get disappointed.
Well, I got started
get it chewy. Change your life.
I don't think I want to ask you about that.
Maybe not. No, it's nothing. It's nothing bad, but
Or the pink slime.
No, not even that. So I also noticed that a lot of these plants, so most of the ground beef that's done, it's changing now, and we can't say anything bad about the beef industry because it's always trying to make a change, always trying to get better. But ground beef was based out of those cuts that you like and product being left over on the table. And eventually it got to that place where it was supposed to be cut up. So it could stay there a day or two, and blood or whatever it was. And then it gets to the cutting board and to make ground beef. And what happens in between there? Well, so it's also good to make sure that when you're buying ground beef, from the actual people that are doing it.
Yeah, I was more referring to restaurants going in instead of ordering a steak.
Burger
would be not buying it in the supermarket. Actually, I think in Publix you'll see them grinding it for you. You can see the ground one, but you assume they're not gonna mess it up because
well, that's why as bacteria started forming back in 10, 15 years ago. Now things are changing. They'd rather cut it there, do it there, and get rid of it there.
So the industry itself that you entered, I guess, took a big swing upward, right? Everyone is looking for high-end. Everybody gets already foodie. Everybody knows what's going on. I think that the echo chamber on social media, they're going to show you people cooking stuff, and just the demand for quality is already in the United States unforgivable. If you're not getting the right quality, people are going to walk away.
That's exactly what's happening now. People are noticing what they're eating. So if you're not transparent, consistent, you're not going to make it in this business.
Do you think we're going to get to a point that we're going to walk into Publix supermarket or Trader Joe's and we're going to see A5 Wagyu?
I think so. A5 and Wagyu out of Australia has become, it used to be certain places that had it, now it's become a commodity. And now it's no longer it's popular now, but now it's become something usual that you'll start seeing more,
What we'll try and do, let's try and go and do a picture on here. So to show the difference between a regular
and the marbling
steak
for Wagyu,
and then A5. A5 would look different than the American Wagyu. Yeah. It's just too white because it's all fat.
Yeah. Is there regional reasons why, like in Japan, like can you emulate some regional reasons in the US that would allow for a better cut of A5 Wagyu, or is it like the grass they eat, the I don't know, the elevation that the cows grow? Like what are all the things that impact it?
Well, that's a little more concise when it comes.
A5 has to be from Japan.
Yeah, well, A5 is Japanese. It's it's Japanese, the area.
Please do not make that mistake again, Scott. What was that?
No, but can you not replicate?
Well, no. So the Wagyu, which is actually the cattle, that produces A5 in Japan, can be grown in the U.S. But for some reason, they haven't been able to get it right. There's a couple companies that are doing it right, but it's not as consistent. It doesn't have to do with the water, the nutrients inside the grasses, the way they're being fed. Yeah. It has a lot to do with it.
So you're saying they're trying to make it like the Japanese.
They are. Yeah.
But it's not there yet.
It's not quite there yet.
Yeah, I would assume that if you go to someone in Japan and say, hey, can you come down for a couple of years in the US? And he's going to say no, because I have the pride. I want to do it here.
Actually, you need to be certified by Japanese to sell A5.
Huh.
You need to have their permission, their certification. Cool. You cannot name A5 on your menu if somewhere along the line.
Well, not about that. I'm saying to go and teach the know-how in the US. Do you think someone's going to go and say, hey, I'm going to just hang over here for 5 years. I want to see what you're doing.
I'm
sure. You think they're going to say no?
If you pay someone enough?
The chocolate story, when Hershey's went to Switzerland, he was trying to learn. He liked their chocolates. Yeah. He was trying to learn, and he thought, I'm just going to go and offer them some money so they can teach me. And they said, no, I'm not teaching you nothing. I don't want to go and teach you my formula for chocolate. I had to go and play around with chocolate over here. And he's just the only one that was able to make it in mass. And it was just a pride that they had in Switzerland that none of them wanted to give away any of the formula secrets. So I would say Japanese are very honored people, and they might have kind of like
a little
say, no, I don't want to teach you nothing.
It could be. Look, I'll be in Japan next May, so I'll keep that question in mind.
It's interesting to see.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm just curious because if
tell him Joseph want to come and hang around.
Yeah,
with you
Joseph is coming with me.
So it's not like one company has the IP, right? It's a country. So the first thing I would think of is if I was an American meat producer, is
Rolex. I know we're talking, arches and watches here, but it comes from it comes from that certain place, and it comes from that certain way of growing the animal, feeding the animal for over 500 years. So
for 500 years, the Japanese had A5 Wagyu, and I was here choking on some dry steaks all those years.
Keep in mind, I remember this. I remember this back in maybe 2016, and I remember coming into this restaurant in Dallas, Texas, and for the first time, I had seen A5 Wagyu.
When was it?
This was back in 2016, maybe.
Okay,
15. I've heard about it before. It was
my
first time, and of course I had to ask for it. But I remember that a piece of meat...
That was where, in Houston?
That was in Dallas.
In Dallas, okay.
And that piece of meat, I remember that...
Life-changing.
Was $125 for a piece for, 2 ounces?
Yeah.
I'm imagining that the whole ribeye probably cost over $3 a pound to bring it in. Yeah. This is 7-8 years ago. Now it's about $150, so half of it. But yeah, to me,
when you tried it, what did you feel?
It's...
you understand where the money is going?
I do understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like trying the real caviar for the first time. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. So, but you were saying before, you can't even put A5 on a menu in the U.S. unless it's...
Well, so there's a line where someone brought it in. You just can't have a restaurant go and pick it up there and bring it in a plane.
By the way, right now you get that almost everywhere. What he was referring to is the same when I was going with BoxyCharm, same years, 2016, I think, 2017. It was in LA. I went to a Boa. It's a steakhouse in LA. and everyone were ordering filet mignon because they thought that's the best piece, the best cut. No, it's not, but whatever. I was trying to tell them about rib cup, but anyway, they all asked for that because they're known for steaks. And then I just told the waitress,
A sirloin?
What's that?
A sirloin?
No, I told them.
No, they said it's
no, they're going for filet mignon. I said, no, that's not the best meat. What are you doing? Don't take that one. Okay,
I'm not a filet mignon guy.
Yeah, I don't get like zero fat. Okay, so I told the waiter said, just give me what's the best piece of meat you have? I said, well, that would be the A5. She said, whatever it is, bring it over. I didn't know what it is, and I tried it the first time. And let me tell you,
your eyes lit up.
Oh my God.
What is this?
Guys,
I want to know.
You gotta try this shit. This is, they barely give you a couple of pieces, right? It's like the size of a finger here. Each one's like $100, but I'm like, just give me 4 more. You gotta try this. And all of them ditched their thing. All of us ordered that. We just finished everything they had in the kitchen, I think. And then I would go look for more places that have it, and then little by little, I saw more and more A5, and it was
crazy. Huh?
Yeah. And I remember going to a place and you said you have A5, and I would say the way they would look at you with honor and respect, that so close
it was
knowing what it is. They don't look at you like that anymore. That was gone. Like, I'm the first one though. Yeah.
No, it is. It's one of those experiences you never forget.
Yeah.
Me too. When I first had it, and I've been in beef. I thought I knew everything about beef, and I've heard A5, and I tasted. It was. Wow. Is
there anything above that?
I mean, it's got a lot to do with the taste of it. It's the fat of it. So people...
Just here's a piece of fat, no meat. Just that.
Have you tried that before?
Just a fat?
Yeah.
I had
So in Mexico now, what they're doing is they said, okay, we're cutting up the ribeye. We're taking the top of it because they're making it separately. And then we're getting all these pieces of fat. What do we do with them? And they used to make it in hamburger meat.
Yeah.
But then the hamburger's not a big seller in Mexico. It's not a big thing. So they started making pork, like pork grinds, but now with ribs and strip loin.
Is there a difference in the taste of the fat from A5 versus a regular piece of fat that you'll take from it? Just take ribeye. One is A5, one is whatever. It's not. It's a different pie.
Definitely.
Different.
Even in the U.S. taste. Side as well, you could know when the animal's been given different foods, especially more corn, more sorghum.
More corn is better.
More corn is better.
So the whole grass-fed, it's not going to taste the same.
You know what? To each its own. Some people love it because it's part of the culture, and maybe back in the 1920s, that's what it was. Yeah, but now
you want them to taste better.
You want it to taste better. Corn. The corn is what
Peruvian corn stuff, like those big chunks.
That's what you. I was hearing a story about because I was very intrigued with the A5, and back in the 1800s, cattle were giving a corn and seeds and even some kind of milk product to get them. And they said that had a lot to do with their consistency and the genetics coming up. So created
beer
that.
Too. I heard they mix it with beer.
So it created consistency. You could taste it. Actually, long story. This isn't, short story, but this happened maybe back in 2006, 2005. They decided they wanted to feed cattle something quicker because, alfalfa back in the day, there was too much dryish coming up in the U.S. So they started to bring cornmeal and fish meal. When they were creating fish, they were putting them through the saws and all that stuff that was being left over. They said, what do we do with it? Let's feed the cattle. It's cheap. We'll bring it in. So back in 2004 and 5, there was a whole problem between cattle tasting like fish.
Oh.
And they said, wait a minute. There's something here. What's going on?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, you could look it up.
And what about all these hormone infused cows that you see? Like, how does that play into this whole market?
Well, that's what we're getting into. So, look, I'm building an e-commerce here coming up because the brands that I work with are not in, Publix, Winn-Dixie's.
Yeah.
They're only out there in major places that want consistency. And the brands that I've been working to is because the millennials are asking for this and because they want to know what I ate, where it was, and how was it brought up. We're developing programs that are natural, no hormones, no antibiotics. And that is changing the taste of the actual, protein itself.
And if I'm thinking to the meats that I would have eaten in high end restaurants, do those more likely have hormones in them 5 years ago?
Yeah, maybe 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yeah,
okay.
It was a little
So
different.
there was like a curve. So everybody was like looking for optimal efficiency
Exactly.
and get the most out of every single
It's all
cow.
about the price.
And now
not about the
everyone's
quality.
concerned about supply chain and where it comes from and what's in it. And now you're seeing a general shift in the market to more.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
You'll see this from 20 years going forward. I mean, as of 1999, 2001, you started seeing that difference.
Mm.
And I got to give props. I think we talked about this, Joseph. Whole Foods, when they started, and I walk into the store in Whole Foods, I remember walking into it, the first one. And when I walk in there and I said, this is stupid. They're not going to survive. Who's going to come in here and pay $10 more a pound for a piece of meat? They're not going to survive. This is back in 2004. Look at them today.
Look at them now. Yeah.
I mean, it's growing as we speak. Now, even Walmart. So Walmart, as of 2024, they're going to have a natural and organic section coming over. I think they started in most places.
Are you
now.
sure it's not organic plastic made or something?
But when
I get stories about that
there's
too.
also, because I'm always curious, like how much of organic is marketing versus actual organic?
I hate getting more involved in that because I'm not a scientist or even a doctor. But at the end of the day, it comes with a territory. So what's happening is organics become a prostituted word. It's now become a marketing scheme to.
Yeah.
You put organic on it because you decided that it was grown in an elements where you thought it was organic, and the feed you thought it was giving it was organic because it sits in the bag. And
I believe there's so much scam with organic.
I know.
You work the fields, right? Because you cannot grow the crafts if it's vegetables or fruits without pesticides. It's just not going to work. Like you cannot scale that. And you see it because you see them coincidentally coming from other countries, right? And it's organic. But we used to have when I used to work in the field, we had a phrase saying organic. Conventional crafts you water during the day. Organic you rewind. You spray conventional during the day. The organic field you spray at night. That was the. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough getting into those.
There's no
scenarios.
way.
Yeah.
There's no. It's all bullshit. They really believe in that you cannot scale and put it in mass supermarkets. Tomatoes that look so good without killing all the pests. You have to go and spray.
So I understand that. I don't understand it, but I understand. It's not good, but I understand when something has to be presented. Like a tomato has to look.
Yeah.
What somebody expects a tomato to look like.
That's the problem that is happening now, because now you eat with your eyes.
Yeah.
It's no longer about being natural and tasting good. It's about, and this started a lot in US, and it's pretty much gone out to the world. You go out to the supermarket, you expect that tomato to look beautiful.
Look like a non-organic tomato.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now what they're doing is they're adding stuff to it, like a wax to it, to make sure that it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So that's becoming a problem too.
But how does that actually? So you don't have a product where people see the cow. They see what's on their plate. So
exactly.
You can actually.
Well, this is where we're doing documentaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what does that actually mean for your business? So when you start removing the hormones, when you start I think there's a couple different things you focus on, and you have some ways that you produce some meat that are more forward thinking and more in line with what a younger generation actually wants to see in the meat. But what does that actually mean in terms of profitability, margins, all of that?
Well, I gotta give props to those guys that decided to do something different, no matter the outcome.
Yeah.
Because it's more expensive. So keep in mind that feeding
percentage wise, like what's
you mean
like if you're
20% more feeding about 20 to 25% more, making sure that the animal eats different, is treated differently. So the ranchers that we're working with, they're more conscientious about what they're doing. So they're worried about the atmosphere. They're worried about everything else. Mm-hmm. So they're following tendencies, speaking to doctors, speaking to everybody else about moving cattle in different directions. So, they let the grasslands come back up again. Mm-hmm. Making sure that we make as less cattle as we can. So everything's trying to make a movement, And it's funny to say that because, my daughter, my two daughters work for me in the company. So it's a good and a bad thing. I can't escape from anybody. My wife's at home, my daughter's at the office. But we talk about this all the time, and we sit down in the restaurant. And I've said this to a couple of chefs. I said, look, I sit down in this restaurant, and if the meat came from my office, I could tell you what it ate. How was it born? How was it treated? But everything in here, I can't vouch for it. I don't know how much that bread, it looks great to me, but that flour is probably being kept 2 years out there. I know this because by FDA standards, you could have flour being kept for 2 years. Eggs can be out of a basket now coming in. I mean, so, I don't want to talk about anything else, but I could tell you what the animal ate, how it tastes, how was it treated, what was it fed, what wasn't it fed. And, I could tell you the end result. But everything else on the table, including water, I don't know where it came from.
Have you seen the movie Fast Food Nation?
No, I haven't, but I've heard about it.
There's a part over there where they're talking, okay, so the movie was running into difficulties to actually get the movie coming out because the major food conglomerates were doing everything they can to pretty much intimidate everyone or anyone that was part of that. Bruce Willis was on it for a small part, but people were afraid to actually be on that movie. But the movie itself talks about fictitious fast food chain, just like a McDonald's. And it's a story about a guy that is their marketing director, and they're basically telling him, look, we got a problem. And they go really scientific with the explanation of what the problem was. Like, I don't understand what you said. He said,
yeah, be a scientist. So.
Yeah, like very scientific words. We found E. coli in there. I was like, what? What are you talking about? In other words, there is shit in the meat. So then he has to go to all those manufacturers over there, Tyson types, and to speak to them. So when he goes there, at first everything is stainless steel, everything is pretty and all that. But so they give him a tour and everything looks spotless. It looks like you can perform a surgery on it. But eventually what you actually get to see is the dark side through the movie, where many times the intestines of the cow breaks down on the actual assembly line and all the shit goes around with all the other meat and it goes into the grinder with it. And they said, oh yeah, that happens every day, maybe a couple of times. But listen, there's just so much meat, no big deal. One cow here and there. But there's about 60 pounds of shit goes around. And so the question is, how is it working in the high-end food, high-end meat? Is it similar or is it different?
No, it's quite different. So, it's funny you say that because the industry is changing a lot now. So there's inspectors in every plant. There is, the actual intestines of the cow cannot touch the actual cow. So it's different.
They separate that.
They separate that. And, especially most of the packers in the U.S., I can't say just the ones we work with, but the cleanliness and the better has been changing since probably 1998 and forward. People paid attention to that.
Interesting.
Back in when the YouTube started what, maybe 2004, 2005 as well. It became a big thing. They were showing stuff with cattle being mistreated back in the day. I'm not sure you guys remember that. That's the only thing that people remember back in the day.
Viral videos.
It went viral about that, yeah. And that's the only thing that people remember back in the day. And that's what's stuck in people's mind. And this was only one packer or one rancher that was doing this, and it became a big thing. So they started paying attention now. But to answer, that has been changing a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, over there in the movie, the solution they give him is burn the meat. That's fine. Just shut up and burn the meat. There's maybe a microscopical shit in this burger. Just burn the meat. That's what they tell him.
That's what happens now. When you're hearing these problems with plants having problems with bacteria, there's usually something wasn't done correctly.
What about pork? Are you doing pork? Is there?
So now this whole plant that I represent is now starting to do pork since 2018, but I haven't touched it because I don't know much about it.
Is there anything like A5 but a pork quality?
Yeah. So this is exactly what Creekstone is doing. They're taking a Duroc pork. Usually was Duroc out of Spain. Probably the best pork in the world is Duroc. It's like the A5 pork,
Interesting.
Yeah. So they're bringing these pork all the way down from Spain. They got the genetics going. They got everything going, and they're starting to bring it down to the U.S. Of course, keep in mind that it takes education because people, you could tell them that this pork loin is $5 more, and they ask why.
Yeah.
So that's what's really my job, what I've been doing.
Interesting.
Lately.
Yeah. So they'll have to go to fine dining areas or fine butcher shops.
To eventually people could talk about it like you and say, 15 years ago, I went and I tried this pork loin. God damn it, that was amazing. What was that? Yeah. So that's happening now, actually, because we're bringing in this pork loin down to Miami. And actually, shout out to Chef Gene Delgado out of Miami there. And they make this chuletón, like a whole ribeye, but it's pork instead. And you could taste that Duroc pork, and it tastes like you're biting into a ribeye. That soft and that amazing. Like, wow.
I guess the best way to educate faster is just so many food bloggers out there that people actually, they're influentials. They're not just influencers as a name. They're actual influencers. They influence people to listen, learn, and then consume, and wisely.
Correct.
So many of them would have their own ways. There's a guy that would do barbecues, and he would show how he does these and so on. A Brazilian guy, I think he's actually here from Miami. There's quite a few of those. And to get them around you and kind of like get them part of your collective group of educators that can talk about what the meat is all about, that would make sense for people that would listen and say, this is why you don't want to buy this meat. Yeah, pay the $5 more. Yeah. Then they'll do like really quick TikTok videos, and people would listen and actually research and do the homework to understand.
Yeah. I think I think that's, we've actually had people reach out to us about collaboration. I don't know if that's the angle I want to take, because I don't know much of that marketing side of it.
If you're about to do e-commerce,
we're about to do
you need to warm up the market with the influencers. You need them to all know you.
Well, this is why we're doing a documentary.
Interesting.
Because we decided to do a documentary. It's right now on YouTube. And it kind of rang a bell in Mexico and Peru, and I've been traveling in those places slowly. I could have gone through an influencer, but at the end of the day, it's tough for me to go to an influencer when he talks about one burger today, another one tomorrow. There's no consistency on what he's showing and what he's selling. So to me is, look, I am doing something different. I'm going to keep it that way. So I need to become the influencer. So this is how my Instagram started as an influencer 2 years ago. I didn't even know what that was. My daughter brought it to me. She went to Arkansas University, and she was the one that said, hey, let's put marketing into the company. I said, what are you talking about marketing? We sell beef. I go out there and speak to the chefs. So we started digging into Instagram, into marketing. She started doing a couple little posts there and here, and I think we're up to 46,000 followers now in a year.
An army of them. You can't do it by yourself.
Well, now we hired a graphic designer that's helping us. Now we hired a producer that's helping us with videos, and we're expanding. And of course, my daughter has brought me the same thing you did. Dad, we should really look at these influencers.
So here's what you want to see. There are two parts, from my experience: stickiness of your content, and then the army of influencers that will consistently talk about you. Right? There's chatter. You have to be part of the chatter. If you feel, well, I don't want to be because they talk about other people, it doesn't matter. You still have to be there. And everyone is different, by the way. So, and you're not competing with restaurants. You're competing with people buying food online. That's different.
Correct.
You need to get to be you want to make sure that they know, in love, and just trust your food more than all the other sources. And then they'll talk about this, and that they will bring people in. Now, then what you do is they'll go into your Instagram or TikTok, whatever. Well, TikTok is about to be demolished, but Instagram. And that's when you need to have what you're doing right now, which is great, sticky content. So now, once you get them in, you got to make sure that you retain them to keep looking at you and then consume from you. That's the important part. So if you introduce now a type of pork or so on, they have to stay on your platform and be non-commercialized content, but about your category. And that's what's going to make it. So get the stickiness and then get the army of people talking about you.
So as a category, you're trying to create like a higher end cuts, luxury meat market. Is that really what you're trying to create direct to consumer around?
I think that we're trying to create a higher end luxury, and we're trying to create the difference between all the meats in the U.S. And we are the 3% of the U.S. Cattle industry, and we happen to be different. We're those people that go the extra mile feeding the animal, taking care of the animal.
How does it perform in a recession?
Very well. Actually, we grew tremendously because people were more conscious about asking, is that hormone free? Is that antibiotic free? For some reason, in everyone's mindset, we decided to be more natural. So Whole Foods had a boom, about
Interesting.
It. So when you go to the store now, you tend to ask about, hey, is that natural? Can I see the ingredients? And these are the millennials that are happening now, and it's slowly adapting to that. And it's funny you say that. You were talking about the whole Instagram thing and influencers, and a company called not a company, but an actual U.S. Meat Export Federation. It's part of Washington, D.C. And I'm going to start doing some stuff with them now. And they said, what makes you different? Because you're a sales guy. I know you for 20 years, especially the director knows me for 20 years. But now you're an influencer as well. So how do you, I said, well, it's been a tough thing. And I'm just going as I go. But so the whole thing is that you have these chefs, Ramsay, Gordon, and talking in TV about, there's a couple of meat guys that have channels that are doing a great stuff and cutting about it. So they could talk everything they want. But at the end of the day, can they tell you, how was the animal treated? What are you eating? Yeah, the ribeye is amazing. Look at the way you cook it. I love it. It's a great steak. But is it hormone-free, antibiotic-free? How was it treated? Where does it come from? I could tell you that story. So I am in that in between that. I don't want to say it that way, but there's no competition.
How much do you feel like the price of the meat, the Wagyu, is going to go down if consumption keeps increasing? That's the only kind they're going to do, or like instead of being 3%, it's going to be 17% or 20%.
First of all, I don't think the cattle is going anywhere but up this 2022, 2023, and maybe part of 2024. Why? Because pandemic came here to ruin it all. It became a big thing. So what happens is that it's a domino effect. It's costing more money to grow corn. It's costing more money to put gas in those trucks to take to the stations. Mm-hmm. It's costing more money to feed the animals. And that's a domino effect. So, there were some regions of Nebraska, Iowa, that had some droughts back in the day. So now alfalfa is no longer being grown. And corn was late about a year because how do they grow it? It's pandemic. Mm-hmm. So a whole year of digestion and gesture for these animals went by without being grown. And whatever was in storage back in the day, people were making an abundance amount of money. Corn, a bushel was worth about $2.83 a pound, $7.50 right now.
Oh,
so these ranchers were making.
Was just because there was 1 year that they couldn't grow it.
I was just going to say that, yeah. But how do you advance to the other one without not having inventory in the back? As you go, you start selling. It's supply and demand. Yeah. And I think we're gonna see prices hang on. And I heard the word recession a lot. I hear it everywhere we go. Rafael, how about recession? Well, the animals don't eat recession. Yeah. They eat every day, whether recession or not. So
you gotta still feed the animals.
You still gotta feed the animals.
I think you need a real depression to actually defeat recession.
Well, then we will have no longer animals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, in the Great Depression, the U.S. government killed 5 million pigs just so they can off because they were they couldn't even give them away for free. There was just too much supply, not enough demand. Yeah. That's when you have a depression where people stop demanding food, basic needs. That's the difference between recession and
well, look. It's a good question you asked about Wagyu because I think we're going to see an increase from here to May. Why? So, what happens? So the difference between me and most of the guys who do trading on the beef side is that they don't study what they're selling. So what's happening now is corn is so expensive. The rancher no longer does an 80% 20 rational, 80% corn, 20% alfalfa. Now he's taking it down to 60. It's too expensive. Let's get him more alfalfa. So there's going to be less prime in the market. Mm. So from here to May, you'll see less prime in the market. Less prime in the market, more money. Less prime in the market, more money for Wagyu. I want Wagyu. Mm. So that's exactly what's going to happen. Wagyu,
but when all that's going to stabilize, when they're going to have enough
it'll happen.
Wheat, and then it's going to go back down, right? Because the commodity is going to come back and hit. There's going to be a correction.
That's what we said about the Ford Mustang back in 1999. And
the Ford Mustang?
Yeah. Well, when they were bringing out $1,200 for a car back in the day, it's going to come down when they brought it up in depression. And
interesting.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
You would have to be involved with that, but cattle's like real estate. There's just so much you could grow and so much you could feed out there. So eventually, there'll be a time there'll be an abundance of it, and you might have to sell.
Yeah.
But right now, there's some countries out there still with problems and just opening up again. So they're all going to want to eat.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
What are some major undervalued cuts of meat that people don't explore enough? We're talking about tie-in cuts and whatnot. What are some things that
That's a good one. That's a tough one because there's not a lot of meats out there that are unexplored. I mean, well, you could. I think one of those is right now. It's inside skirts. You know what an inside skirt is?
Which one?
I don't know what that is now.
Between the rib, there's the outside skirt on the side, and then the other one, the inside skirt and the outside skirt. So it's probably a little tough, but with a little marination. And when it comes with prime animals, it's delicious. So skirt steak or fajitas.
Yes.
Those
are. I think everyone knows skirt steak, right?
They're undervalued.
I feel like the undervalued.
They are undervalued because they're not that. First of all, you look at the price tag on the menu; it's really not anything compared.
That's what I'm saying. Compared to
why is it cheaper?
$5.99 fajitas today, or try a ribeye.
Why is it so cheap? Maybe it's cheaper because you can. It's the
it's a little tougher.
It's a very fatty part, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's a little chewier, tougher, but I think it's with high choice and rib and prime, very good taste to it.
Yeah. What's your favorite piece in a cow?
Ribeye.
Not the rib cap?
I like the rib cap, but I do love the fat inside the ribeye. So the rib cap, you pretty much take the fat around it into the rib cap, and then it becomes fat with meat. But I do like the eye. I would cut the piece of meat and I eat the fat.
Yeah,
I'm that guy.
Do you think that as Wagyu becomes more of a commodity, not more of a commodity, but it goes from the 3% to the 10% to the 17%. Does that, in your experience, cut into restaurants' profits that focus on high-end meat? Like, will Poppy have $1,000 steak anymore?
No, I think that always happen. And I don't think, keep in mind that, we're not growing cattle like crazy here.
Yeah.
It's still the same amounts. Just U.S. happens to pay more for it. So Hong Kong no longer has it. China no longer has a bunch of it. Mm-hmm. Now it's coming to the U.S. because, Japan said, hey, we're going to give you more, but it's $80 a pound. And they were selling it at $60. So here it goes. So eventually someone's missing that.
Yeah.
So eventually it will go back to Hong Kong again once we get leveled out. I think right now it's a hype. It's great. It's great meat, but I think it's a hype. And I think that we could do, if we could explore more, there's a lot of meats out there that are doing good stuff. That's what I'm trying to promote, these brands that are doing something different, similar. So these ranchers are doing the same treatment as Japan is doing to their cattle. And they're noticing the difference between the prime going up a percentage, the softness going up a percentage. It's never going to be Kobe or the Wagyu, but it's going to be very good. It's going to be much different.
And do you, like, in your opinion, what makes an exclusive restaurant meal actually worth it?
So coming out of a restaurant, you mean, or speaking to the chef, or
no, like speaking to because you deal with chefs all the time. Yeah. So now you're selling these cuts, but I mean, you experienced all these different restaurants, all these. So what makes an experience actually worth it to pay a premium price tag?
Well, whatever I'm eating, I tend to. If I don't know where the meat comes from, I become that guy now. Since I could taste if it's been. I could cut a piece of steak and I could taste the corn on it. I could taste the wheat on it. I could taste the alfalfa on it. It's bad to say that, but I can. I could even taste if it's been mixed with another breed. Sometimes I could tell this is not 100% Angus or this is not 100% Hereford. I could sense it. I've just been doing it a long time, and most of these chefs do. The Michelin chefs, they could taste it and say, this is not the right one.
You can be a sommelier for meat.
I don't know about that. It was my personal thing, but I could taste it. So when I go to these places, I tend to ask, where'd you buy the meat from? Can you tell me? Can you show me the box? If I don't trust a restaurant. If I don't know it, I just don't eat it. So I make sure that I have a nice meal wherever I go. If their catch of the day is snapper and they brought the best snapper from somewhere, that's what I'm eating in that restaurant. Unless I know I'm walking into a good place and I'm eating a piece of meat, I tend to go to the same ones that are consistent. Mm-hmm. So then I don't have a problem paying a bill.
What's your favorite restaurant in Miami for steaks?
Prime 112.
Prime 112?
Yeah. I had some good experiences there.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't spend a lot of time.
What's the recommended meat?
Ribeye.
And is that prime or is that Wagyu?
That's prime. Prime. He carries Wagyu too, but he carries a prime Creekstone Farms that I like a lot. So
And then I guess I would also ask, outside of like restaurant experience, just in the meat industry, what are major misconceptions that people have about the industry that are just blatantly not true? We sort of touched on viral clips and whatnot, but what are some things that people believe that are not true at all?
Well, it's tough. It's a tough question.
No one kills the animals. It's bullshit.
No, I think that people just need to stop hearing, start hearing the news and all that happens and start paying attention and get educated of what you're eating and what you're doing. A lot of people have misconceptions of, the way the animal's treated, the way the way the animal is being fed. So I think there's a lot of misconception with that. We should really start educating ourselves a little more.
And is something that you would like to change about the meat industry?
Well, that's the thing. I think education goes a long way.
Yeah.
I had to educate chefs before about, hey, it's all marketing. I don't know about that. Now think about it. But I've also had chefs educate me. Said, hey, this is not a filet mignon. This is called something different. So I listen. I mean, I hang out around people. I hang out around people that know what they're talking about, and I tend to, gather myself around with people that could teach me something. Mm-hmm. So I think that education is a must, especially in this world nowadays. Millennials want to know what they're eating. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to get worse as we get 20 years down the line.
Unless people educate and people teach. And
exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's every industry that's been like a silent, large industry for a long time. Like we're in the era of information sharing where anything you want is
good and bad area.
Good and bad. Good and bad. So now if somebody has an issue with an industry, then they can post a video and they can get millions of views. And that's the issue.
You hang out with millennials and they want to teach me some kind of lesson. And we had conversations about cattle, about breeds, about meat. And I asked them where they got their information. And it's usually TikTok or a friend gave it to them. Mm-hmm. So that's the problem with education. At the end of the day, where did you hear this from? I'd like to know. Where's your source? Well, I heard it from someone. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Yeah. We're become that society that TikTok becomes our education.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah. Someone that does a short video comes up with information and that's it. That's what it takes for you to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I like to keep educating. So every time I go, I'm actually this year going forward, I'm doing season 3. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be going to universities. I can't say which one yet because I want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
I'll be meeting with doctors. I'll be talking about the ozones. Mm-hmm. I'll be talking about different stuff. This wasn't my plan. I'm a meat guy. I'm a sales guy. And then I started talking about animal breeds and talking about genetics and so I went to the genetic lab, speaking to the doctors. You'll see it on my interviews with them. Season 2 is coming up with interviews. I traveled to Monaco. I traveled to Germany. And they're all hearing about it. And people that own restaurants and guys, the chefs that said, hey, we want to talk to you. And I think we should do something. And we're building an alliance between big companies. They want to bring marketing forward and they just don't know how. Yeah. Because it's a millennial world and anything you could say, you can't even say you're sad now because you're depressed. So it's a tough world.
But you're right. Education is important. I'm super curious what the average conversation is when you go into a university classroom.
Me too.
I'm so curious because even like university for me was, about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So back then, I don't think there was really much negative stigma, at all, all about beef, about animal, about anything like that. I mean, if you saw some video on YouTube, you get frustrated if you see cows being abused or something like that. But ultimately, there wasn't the same social awareness of things that you see today at all. And you're right. When you look at videos on YouTube or TikTok, you don't see a lot of pro meat or pro education towards the meat
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Especially it's tough to educate people who don't want to get educated.
Well, that's a bigger issue. That's a much bigger issue. I have a massive issue with that.
I guess the angle should not be about the morality of what's going on or not. So look, if you're not consuming meat, that's not even for you. But if you do, I'll educate you about what you're consuming so you can make a better choice. And actually, if you're already butchering an animal, make sure that they don't suffer as much and you can treat it in humane conditions. But the main purpose of this one is to tell you what's in your plate and what was the consumption of that animal and how they breed them. And that might be better. You just segmentize your listeners.
Yeah.
You can still have demonstrators out there throwing eggs at you and all that stuff.
Well, you can't avoid that. I mean, that even happens in my family. But look, I think we've been doing something right, and as we go, I still get educated every time I go to meet someone. A rancher that I've been for 100 years been doing the same thing, and it's surprising to me. I actually have an interview with a rancher that his grandpa started it and his father started it, and he came down to it, and they haven't changed anything down the line. So
sorry, not to finish your thought, but
no. So to him, his education became as getting up at 3:00 in the morning, and before he ate breakfast, he had to make sure that the animals were eating breakfast first.
Yeah.
So to me, it was really. He says, yeah. So I get up in the morning, and the first thing I need to do is, even there's ice out there, he's got to go out there with the whole farmers and scratch the ice, because if not, they can't feed.
Yeah.
So
have like plant-based alternatives impacted the industry at all?
I don't think it's an impact at all. I respect people that want to go that route. I think to each its own.
Yeah, but in terms of I was more like revenue, and nothing has been significant.
No, I think it's a very little small percentage of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a couple people that follow that, want to make changes, and you know what? People want to make that change. Try it.
Yeah,
why not? It's not a big thing. I happen to like meat.
Have you seen the tagging on that? Have you seen the lab grown alternatives? I mean, we actually interviewed someone over here, and Nas Daily, and he showed on his show someone that does lab grown fish. They're taking protein from peas, and they manipulate the protein to actually turn into fish, to salmon.
That sounds organic.
It's I mean, the organic lovers are really all about that. Apparently, that's okay. For them, and then there's another one for chicken, where they're taking one cell and they're just duplicating it in a lab, and you eat chicken. It tastes like chicken.
I guess my question would be is how do you make that taste like fish?
Yeah.
What are you adding to it to make it taste like fish? So, and is that natural?
It's a molecule. What they're doing is they rearrange a molecule, and to be just because I guess the protons and the neutrons in the molecule of peas is similar to an actual molecule for the amino acid, and they rearrange it a little bit, and then they just put it in a particular machine that duplicates that. So they'll put it in a 3D printer, literally a 3D printer, and it looks exactly like salmon. We're gonna probably show something if we can.
Yeah,
it's
really
mind blowing. It's made in Israel. It's mind blowing. They do the same with honey. They learned that there are only few types of bees. Bees are dying. You need them. All that. We'll all die if there are no bees. But the point is, you don't need bees for honey. You can leave them alone and let them be. You don't need their honey. So, and there's a reason why, and there's an interesting conversation about honey that goes on around that. But what they do is they take bee protein, they mix it with nectar, what they're picking up from the flowers, put it in a machine that they built. It's also in Israel. And now you have honey.
Okay. You ever had it before?
I didn't test it, but I'm going to taste it next time I'm going to Israel. It's just they haven't reached economy of scale yet, but the idea is that it was created first. So,
but I think like for something like that, you miss a lot of the texture. So I think flavor.
You haven't tried it though.
No, but that's what Nas Daily was saying.
No, you're talking about the fish, not the honey.
No, not the honey. Yeah. I'm talking about the fish.
The fish. He did say it was first phase. They need to go to better the taste.
Also, I'm also like personally with a lot of like meat alternatives and plant-based, it's more the fact that there's like 1 billion chemicals in it. That's what actually
makes it grow.
No one said that there are chemicals in the.
There is though. If you look at,
not in the fish.
Like better meat.
You're talking about
the plant-based alternatives.
Plant-based, yes. Not those.
I'm sorry.
Not the lab-based. Yeah, you're confusing that. Yes.
No, I think
I can't say much about it because I'm not educated about that yet.
Yeah.
I guess I will look into it. Yeah. I mean, if my daughter came and told me that she was deciding to go plant-based, I would say, okay, just educate yourself.
Yeah.
What are you eating?
Important. Yeah.
What are you eating? Then we also hear from certain scientists out there that what's happening with these organic farms that are growing vegetables to make whatever protein they're trying to make is they're getting bigger as they go. They're scaling. And what happens is that they're pulling down trees And eventually they start growing these gazebos to make this stuff. Eventually there's less birds. Eventually there's less insects. And they eventually use compost dirt that has never been cleaned. And what happens in between that, there's never a cycle of anything except So we don't know
habitats.
No, there's totally negative effects from anything at scale.
Yeah.
You just got to figure
at scale.
Anything at scale has some sort of negative effect.
I'm not educated enough for that, but I think that people who want to do that should really educate themselves.
Yeah.
Actually, one more thing that I thought was really interesting that you mentioned earlier, and I don't mean to always just keep going back, but you did mention something. You can taste all the different nuances of a meat when you eat it.
Yeah, I can't taste every grade out there, but I do have a couple that I could taste.
So can you taste like if it's like raised a certain way or
I know automatically if it's been frozen for a day or two. I just know it. I could taste the water in it. I don't know.
Can you taste if it was like slaughtered humanely or not? Like what's like the extent? Like
I don't know about that part, but I could taste.
Can you tell the bloodline if I give you 5 steaks, which one is the sister?
No, probably not that good. But I could tell when it's been manipulated somehow.
Yeah.
So I tasted meat long enough. I mean, as you see, I'm not that skinny little guy that, I'm a guy that sells meat and this is what I do. Yeah. So I could taste.
I wouldn't trust you if you were super skinny, to be honest.
No, I could taste if it's been manipulated any way at all. If it's been kept fresh too long, if it's been inside the package too long, it starts forming a little bacteria around it. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bacteria that's going to harm you. But I could taste it. Just like the same thing with dry aging. People tend to love that. So I am not a dry age fanatic. I don't mind eating it if it's on the table, and that's the only thing that Joseph is inviting me to his house to eat. I will have
starving him for 3 days. That's the only thing to eat.
I starve at an hour, so if you're cooking. I'll be cooking it. I could taste it, and I could tell you how long it's been. It's been about 28 days.
How does it smell like walking into a room with all the aged meat?
Glorious.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I do, even though I don't like the taste of it, I can actually do like the smell of it. It's that sweet smell of, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't smell like cheese because I think when you walk into a room.
Well, maybe when you
put cheese.
Put it in the bathroom, it smells like cheese. I don't know. But no, it's, you'll have your places where that's not cleanliness enough and you can smell it.
Interesting.
But most of these places that I walk into are very well maintained. Dry aging was a big thing, and it was never meant to be this catchy. It was just supposed to be to soften the meat. Now it's become a thing. It's so it's part of the menu now. Dry aging, it's softer. But then I've also had some dry aged beef here in Fort Lauderdale. I'm not going to say where. That you bite into it, and tougher than a piece of choice meat.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so guys, remember.
You have to tell me after.
You got to start.
There's one place actually.
He's going to stay as far as hell.
Yeah, well, there's
an Argentinian restaurant over here I went to, and I tried the first time.
I haven't been to it. I know what you're talking about. I haven't been to it.
Do not.
Really?
Do not.
It was we didn't even go together.
But what did you have?
I've been there separately, and it was bad.
Bad.
Really?
Listen.
My wife has been. We should go. It's brand new.
This place, I'm telling you something. I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna have a vacío. Okay, so I asked vacío. Yeah. Horrible, stuck in my teeth for 3 weeks. I felt sorry for coming to America. It was bad. Then I'm like, it happened. So then I'm like, just churrasco.
You try it again.
Entraña, like give me entraña. They call it entraña. We call it churrasco. Yeah. Okay, let's go. I take that and
that's the outside skirt.
Listen, honestly, it was like eating my shoe. It was bad.
How did somebody screw it up so much?
Well, they're not looking at consistency and quality. They're looking at price.
Yeah, but that's the worst of the worst. I mean, I had everywhere. Yeah. Never seen anything like that.
I've had skirt steak that doesn't taste like that. That was exceptional.
That's what I'm telling you. Yeah. That, sometimes
they're still in business over there.
Well, because there's tourists and they don't know better.
Yeah, they don't know better.
I haven't been to it yet. I can't say much about it. But now that you said that to me, and now I'm curious and I got to go.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But I probably asked for a sweet bread next to it. Molleja. You ever heard of it?
I did. Are you talking the sweet bread?
Yeah. Have you tried that?
No.
That's another thing that, a lot of American people, maybe Canadian as well, because they don't know it.
I don't know sweet potato.
So it's part of the neck of the cattle. And if you see it, it looks like
you're talking about the meat. It's a piece of meat that's very, very. I know what you're talking
it's
about.
Sweet bread. It's called molleja.
I know what
bread.
it is. It's amazing. I love those. I love. Yeah.
And then once you cook them and slice them, it's
so good.
It's
like round, like it looks like a tiny sausage.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had that.
It's not a big thing.
Argentinian.
Yeah, Argentinian.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. It melts in your mouth.
Should try that. Yeah. That's something you should try.
But they're probably going to tell you, we don't have that today. Sorry, we only have this. And that's it. All you have is very, very dry meat. And go ahead, eat it.
And what's your favorite cooking method between like grilling, braising?
The grill. I just fire, salt, meat.
You should turn into like a restaurant reviewer on Instagram too.
Well, yeah. Then see that's a problem too, because then how do you criticize the same people you sell to?
Well,
so
you just criticize people you don't sell to. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, that'll become
He's
a problem.
He's a very creative Canadian. You see, Canadians are good.
You just figure the whole concept out here.
Yes.
You don't work with me. Let me try your food over here.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
This is Rafael, the straightforward guy that tells you exactly what it is. Let's try.
Oh, that's amazing. What else? Is anything else we wanted to go into? I feel like we did a lot. What else? If like questions that we didn't ask you that an audience would be interested about the industry, about the work you're doing?
Well, I guess the industry is just it's a beautiful industry. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's something that it's very deep to my heart when it comes to the animal, the science behind it, all the people behind it. So I want to give a shout out to all those farmers, ranchers we met in 2020, 2021. Mm-hmm. And we don't have an idea of the effort they put into this, the work they put into this. And it's not even about the money. It's amazing that, down the line, the change of happening is most of these ranchers have had their ranches. Yeah, Yellowstone, everybody sees that and they think they're billionaires. Well, a lot of them are well taken care of, but this land's belonged to them for 100 years. And they're just making, enough money to make sure that they're feeding. You can actually watch one of my seasons, Tiffany Cattle Company, a couple of guys that grew up in this industry. And like they said themselves, it was a struggle. When they came up and they started, it was tough. And, and then they get criticized and bashed when it comes, but they're the guys waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning every AM to make sure that you have a piece of steak in your, your place. Mm-hmm. They're the guys that decide that even when it's tough, they're going to feed the animal correctly and they're going to treat it correctly. And so I learned a lot 2020, 2021 with pandemic when I went out there to these ranches and noticed the difference between, watching TikTok and criticizing someone than being out there and doing the work. Mm. Like, wow. So, it's interesting. Yeah.
Very good.
Well, I feel like aside of the negativity that comes from it and all that, there's a whole new movement of carnivores. There's Dr. X-Doc, is still Carnivore MD 2.0 that keeps explaining, articulating exactly why you need it, why it's part of the diet, what type of meat to consume. There's Liver King, a very big character, but he's actually, but still, I mean, they bring millions of people to college, and he's not saying anything wrong when he talks about the meat and why it's important. He just has a more
different approach.
Different approach. He's a marketer.
I've done keto diets and I've done all meat diets, and I've always felt healthier and better and more energy and more focus, and just generally everything it's a hard social diet to keep.
It is.
But in terms of how I actually feel exceptional when I do all meat diets. I mean, even we're talking about like social media personalities like Jordan Peterson and his daughter. They both did carnivore.
Do you see that? I mean,
they're doing the lion diet
and the incredible like complete 180 from all these autoimmune disorders and diseases that they have. It's been
I developed thyroid maybe at 28 years old.
What's that?
Thyroid.
Oh,
I have a thyroid problem.
Okay.
So one day I felt myself gaining weight and I wasn't eating enough. And then at 28, I was getting high blood pressure and I don't know what the hell it was. Mm-hmm. And then I had an immune system, a deficiency called thyroid. And I couldn't stop gaining weight. I'm weighing about 200 pounds right now, but I was weighing 230, 220. And it's, anything I eat, dairies or breads,
doesn't consume.
I blow up.
Wow.
So I try to stay away from it.
So you consume less carbs? Or?
I do. And, it's, you can't see it that I try to take care of myself, but I do. I try to walk every day when I can. But I do try to walk 3 or 4 times a week.
And like your personal experience when you switch your diet up, because you probably have you have a diet that you like to follow.
I do.
But what is that diet and like what did it do to you?
Meat.
Do you do carbs at all?
No, very little. I try tortillas because I happen to be Mexican and I need to wrap it in something.
Yeah.
We can't blame you for that one.
But I am the guy that just put the rice away, the mashed potatoes away. I try to stay away from it. It doesn't go sit well with me. I start gaining weight. I start feeling sick. And for a while, 28 to 38, I was in the hospital constantly.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
and now
I was
nothing.
And then we started making studies and they said, hey, I think you have a problem with your thyroid and something is happening. And so I decided that I was just going to stick with the meat. And, I do want a pizza once in a while. I go crave it and I go taste it. But I know that the following day I need to be in the bathroom all day.
Yeah.
Wow.
But with meat, I'm okay. I mean,
I would put money on if everyone in the world just adopted a heavier meat diet with less carbs, significant amounts of diseases would at least be suppressed. People would be healthier. People would live longer, feel better. I think.
I see that.
I think it has a lot to do with the preservatives.
Well, you're doing this too. You're doing this too. You barely eat carbs.
Barely carbs.
You don't really drink that much anymore.
I mean, I saw you lose 25 pounds.
Yeah,
I lost 9.
And all you do is puppy steak.
I mean, I do work out too, so I added that one, right?
I gotta come and work out with you here. I don't know.
Yeah. Working out makes a difference because you gotta challenge yourself and you have to suffer. And if you suffer, then you feel like you did good. It does something to your body. I mean, that shock to your body is something. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm not a scientist, and I'm sure someone can break it down in words that I won't understand. But every time when you finish a set and you can't do anymore, and then you do a couple more and you feel like exhausted, right after that, there's that great feeling. It's just your body feels so good. You need the yin and the yang. Mm. You need to get to that point. It's like after a while, you don't want to get to a point that you're really exhausted. It was so hard. And then you stop because you know that if you take 1 or 2 more pushes, you go into a whole different realm and you want to be there. So you have to push yourself to that. And that's
just mentally.
Yeah, it's all mental.
But you felt that, but outside of the actual working out, which obviously is super important, when you switched to a mostly meat diet, did you notice your energy levels or your mood or your sleep or any? Because I noticed these things.
It did make a difference for me.
My sleep, actually.
My sleep is.
I notice a lot.
I can do, if I'm keto, I mean, and like keto can also include eggs, but I know like it's not great to have a whole bunch of cheese and stuff like that. But still, the point is you just lower your carb intake. I can get through a whole day on about 6 hours of sleep. And it's like, and for some reason, I get really good sleep. So I don't do it on purpose. I'm not trying to shortchange my sleep, but if I do 6 or 7 hours and I'm on keto, it's like full energy all day. If I'm not keto, I'm 8 hours and still sluggish around 4. And then I'm getting tired and like sleepy. Like when I'm on keto, I go to bed, but I don't feel I need to go to bed. Versus carbs, I do feel like I'm starting to.
I wonder what's going to happen if you do the Lion's diet, which
I've never done pure meat, which is like keto on steroids.
So that's what Dr.
Jordan
Peterson is doing now. And actually, I saw an interview with him doing that. And that's something I would like to try because that's something that would be easy for me.
Of course.
I mean, and you have the diet out there.
I would just say that the mental struggle starts where you do want to get a piece of carbs because the body craves it. And then, but the thing is, what happened is you go and you hold yourself. You say, okay, but at least today I'll do it. And then you say, just one more day, one more day. That's the way I always push myself. Say, okay, I can quit, but not today.
Yeah.
That's how I always push.
Yeah, I start tomorrow again. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll quit tomorrow instead. I'll start tomorrow. Yeah, I'll quit the diet tomorrow. Not so you push an extra day and an extra day. That's but then the point for them was that if you do it for about a week or 2 weeks, your gut starts changing and you no longer have all the toxins. And that's where it really transforms. So you need to go for about 4 to 5 days until you start feeling different. Because his daughter was also with conditions and she was taking medications, mental, and everything went away. She didn't need anything and it was all in her guts.
Actually, if you think about that, that's so wild. Like,
it is.
That's actually wild. Like a lifetime of autoimmune disorders. And there was a whole bunch of stuff that she was dealing with. It's Michaela Peterson. And then all of a sudden you just switch your diet to eating meat.
And it kind of
and your symptoms that you've had for the past 15 years go away.
Well, I think
that's pretty nuts.
Well, I think that's where it comes an issue about what's processed and what's not nowadays.
Well, this is why the whole the whole food pyramid has always been screwed up, right?
Yes.
It's always been screwed up.
Yeah.
Always. They also brainwashed a lot. I feel like I was advocating for years for the movie Forks Over Knives, even though I was eating meat. But it was very convincing because the movie Forks Over Knives, that was a documentary that they did on Netflix. I guess it needs to be watched, but understand that the first thing they show you is U.S. population in the 40s was about 200 million. Japan was about 100 million, something like that, right? I might be wrong here and there. There were half of them. And the percentage of, I think it was colon cancer in the United States was something like 10x or 15x more than what it was in Japan. And the US consumption of meat was equally higher. And then they would keep showing you what happened when you consume meat and how Japan population start consuming more meat and all that. And they start increasing the colon cancer. So for a while, I took it off, right? But then eventually I felt weak. I was.
Like you went vegan, you're saying?
I went vegan for a while, and then I was just weak and tired the whole time. Weak and tired. So at first I felt good, and then it started feeling bad. So I went back to meat. I'm like, oh, screw that. And but I felt like it wasn't necessarily the case, right? The numbers might be accurate, but it wasn't about the meat or not meat. There's just so much more.
I think
you
it's
consume
about
processed food,
calories and processed food.
I think I was going to say
everything
that too.
else. Yes.
Well, when you tend to grab a steak, you tend to go to the potato. You tend to go to the piece of bread.
Yes. Yeah.
You have a glass of something, wine, liquor, beer, whatever.
I think it's that.
The processed food, the processed cheese, the processed everything that you have over here. They didn't have that. Yes.
That's what I was telling my daughters too. I said, I want you to one day go home, go to a nice restaurant, sit down on your table and say, okay, what's not processed here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's water. Okay. Where'd it come from? I mean, somewhere got processed on the line. There's water.
I know.
Yeah, it's very nice and clear.
Yeah.
So
that's the kill, actually.
Well, let me let you know.
There's no
process. You're right. Everything's processed.
So yeah, you sit down at your table and you could answer that question. Then
and if
80% of it is processed, maybe you're gonna change some stuff.
Yeah,
and you're always in a caloric surplus too.
Yeah.
Then that's also an issue. I mean, if you're just constantly overindulging and you're already, say you're doing 2,000 calories of grains and whatnot per day, then you add another 500 to 1,000 calories in meat. Well, yeah, you're not going to be a healthy individual, but it's not the meat.
Well, that's what's happening. Before you get to the meat section, you got to go through these goddamn candies and sodas all over the place. And then right in the corner, you'll find a piece of meat.
Yeah.
And they all attribute it to that. So it's tough. So, keep in mind that when you sit down at your table, look at your table and let me know what's not processed. And then, try to change some stuff around it.
Yeah.
Just to better yourself, to feel better.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. And that's what is going to start making changes going forward.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well,
and the marketing side of it, I'm going to give it to you because it's a struggle. It's, I started getting into this and it's now become a job.
Yeah. It 100% becomes a job.
And it's,
your product needs to sell itself, right? So if you go and if you package products a little bit different than others, and you make it look luxurious for what it is, and you go and you do tours for the dedicated people, and you do tours in the actual places where they actually butcher, and you let them try food.
That's what you do on the show.
Well, more than that, yeah.
No, not the show.
Okay.
Influencers going to a tour.
Oh, I see.
Go just like
maybe
a wine tasting, you do food tasting, but you do it over there. So you might fly some of them to Nebraska where they grow the cattle and they get to see the meat over there. I'm not saying to see where they butcher them, right? I'm not saying to go graphic, but to go and that's your marketing, and eventually they get to be advocates for your online stores, and they go. That would be my approach with that, because before you get the people, you want to get the influential people to be advocate for yours, and then you go. Then they'll go and they'll know how to articulate the message of your product.
Yeah, I think eventually, as we open up this e-commerce place, because everybody keeps asking us, how do we get that meat? it's almost impossible because it's always go to the high-end retail restaurants, hotel chains across the world, Europe.
How
everywhere.
would you ship it though domestically in US?
Well, we're building a processing center. We're doing portion control, so we'll be able to sell tomahawks, ribeyes, strip loins.
Do you freeze dry it?
We're gonna dry. We're gonna
dry ice.
Dry ice.
Dry ice. Yeah.
So we're gonna do fresh and we're gonna do frozen.
Okay.
With IQF machines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's quick.
If you need good people for that, I have logistic people.
Yeah. Well, eventually we also want to distribute in Miami.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have the meat here. Why not distribute to these places that are gonna want it?
Yeah.
So we're gonna start pushing this natural. I don't believe in the word organic because it's just been so
overused.
Yeah. So we're going the natural route. That's what we're doing. And I'm having film behind that.
That's actually a very cool.
Yeah.
So building at that. So, the brand Life Extension?
No.
They're a big vitamin brand and they sell a whole bunch of vitamin supplements. But the point is, maybe just a thought for something you could do. They have a warehouse and they do direct to consumer and e-commerce, but their warehouse, they turned it into like a brick and mortar walk-in.
Well, that's what we're doing.
So you can walk in and buy. Yeah.
So I am actually lining up with a company in Mexico and the worldwide called Middleby Corporation. And we're building, I want to build they keep asking me, even the bank asked me the other day because we're going to this big loan. And he says, well, what are you trying to do? I said, we're going to be the next, QVC of meats.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going to do. So I'm building this big show place like my office and I'm building kitchens. Mm-hmm. And I'm having this company that all they do is sell commercial kitchens to Four Seasons, all the hotels in Mexico, all the hotels in Germany and Europe and Monaco. They build kitchens for these big places. And they're going to build a showroom here. And we're going to be able to use it. And we're going to have their chefs come over. And we're going to do like a cooking show today.
That's awesome.
And we're going to talk about the cattle and where it came from. And you know what? This piece of meat today, we're trying to sell it to a piece of ribeye. Let me tell you, it came from these ranches and where it's happening. And we're going to educate as we go. And we're going to start pushing it out to the masses. That's the whole thing.
Oh, that's interesting. I think if you're going to do a showroom where you can do events and even you can sell seats for people to come over and get private dining, so on, whatever, you can ultimately sell not just the meat, you can also sell everything else.
Well, yeah.
People want, I want that fridge in my place.
But whatever comes with it, we'll figure that out. Yeah. We'll have a chef, maybe fly a chef in and someone that loves the topic. And
is that a German company?
It's actually a Spain company, and they're everywhere. It's called Middleby Corporation. They're in Texas too. They don't have an office in Florida, so I vouched my place and I said, "Hey, you guys want to build a 10,000 showroom here, 10,000 square foot showroom? But I need to be able to use the kitchens and the dry agers and all that stuff." So, you're kidding me? Put all the meat in there. Just let me make sure that our customers from Jamaica, all over the Caribbean can come over and use it as well. I said,
"Yeah, that's better for you."
Yeah. So that's what we're going to start doing. It's taking a little time. It's taking some, but that's our next approach. And eventually we want to have influencers come over and talk about some of the stuff because we know that millennials want to hear it from the nice young guy talking about it. I'm turning 50 here, no longer that thin guy talking about.
No, they want you to be proficient on what you do.
Look at how good you look for 50. I'm going to eat more meat because you look damn
need
good.
that hair. Right?
I'm 49. I'm turning 50.
Look at the hair.
Yeah. Well, he said he's almost my dad. I said, I don't know. I'm turning 50 here,
I'm
going to turn 50 soon here.
Well, so you're a little older than me, but not much. Not much. You have better hair also. So
I don't paint this hair either.
Huh?
I don't paint this hair either.
Well,
that is a phenomenal hair.
I've had people tell me, "Come on, right? Like, what's the secret? What kind of Rogaine?" I said, not yet. It's not.
Yeah.
It's all naturally. Maybe it's the beef.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's the beef. Mexicans are lucky. You guys have good hair.
Well, today is here, and then maybe next year it'll be gone. We'll see.
Well, listen, that was, we learned a lot.
That was very good.
That was really good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, thank you guys for inviting me. I had a good time. First time I done something like this before.
A podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to our podcast, Liquidity and Liquor.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Guys, did we finish our drinks?
I'm done.
I'm done too, yeah.
You want more?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. You don't know me after the second shot.
Awesome.
All right. That's good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wait. How can people find out about you? How can they?
Well, go, right now we're actually in between building websites, but
so say your
Mr. Meatmaster.
Mr. Meatmaster. Okay.
And YouTube, Mr. Meatmaster. YouTube channel,
and
Mr. Meatmaster. And Instagram, Mr. Meatmaster as well.
Okay, perfect.
So, we're moving those brands. It's something new for us as well.
Congratulations. And this is exciting finally to see an industry person going to the front line, show what everything is all about, especially when it comes from the fine meat. It's a little bit more exciting. So thank you for coming over.
Oh, thank you. We're in the business of transparency, and I think that's what we're doing now.
Awesome.